I love watching people, love watching worship sometimes. Especially when we're doing the total opposite of what the song says we're supposed to be doing. We sang a song this morning that really made me laugh watching the congregation. I picked on 2 other churches last week, so I'm going to pick on our church this week. And we sang the song by Twilight Paris. It was originally done by Twilight Paris. Apparently, the Supertones, is where you got it from, did a remake of it. And it says, with our hands lifted high, we come before you and sing. And this is how most of the people sang it. With our hands lifted high, we come before you and sing. With our hands lifted high.
I feel convicted when you're doing it like that.
And their hands are in their pockets or on their laps or on the table or something other than lifted high. I just got to pick on people. But the same thing you see in other churches where when we sing like songs about old hymns, like Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know, fills my every longing, keeps me singing as we go. Or the song that says, now I am happy all the day. Really?
I'm not responsible for poor harmonization here, people.
It's just amazing how, we sing this song, this wonderful song about God, mighty is the power of the cross. And it just, thinking of what it did, and how it wiped away sin, and how it bridged the gap between God and man. And we sing, it's so, and then we just don't, we love in Jesus, but our faces don't know it. Our body don't know it. I want to see when our hands, the song says, raise your hand. Do it! Yes, we're a Baptist church, I'm sorry. We don't raise hands in Baptist churches. We don't dance in Southern Baptist churches. I would do a little jig right now, but my legs are very tired. It's been a long day. But God has called us to share and show the world how we feel. If we're going to sing a song, let's sing it. What does that have to do with anything tonight? I do nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's one of those sidebars that I just want to put out there. Because, I don't know, been thinking a lot about community, a lot about church, a lot about teaching. What do I teach you guys? What can I present to you people? And what is the purpose of the Forge and us getting together and talking? And it's a place, where questions are answered and answers are questioned. So it's tough figuring out what to preach every week. I'm going to be honest with you. I used to be one of these guys that preached every other month, or maybe once or twice a year, and that was easy. Because, traveling evangelists, they only need 5 sermons. They only need 5 sermons because they're going to be there for a week, and if they're lucky, and then they're going to move on. If they get called for a Sunday service, they're like, okay, testimony time. And you can always tell when a young preacher hasn't prepared for a sermon because he's going to share his testimony. So tonight I'm going to tell you, Mike, no, I'm not going to do that. I thought about, what am I going to talk to you, what am I going to talk about, what's relevant to us, and how can we relate to whatever. And this may not be relevant to anybody in the room tonight, but it might. I felt convicted by the Spirit to go into the Old Testament. Because I realized I haven't preached from the Old Testament in a while. When was the last time you heard me preach from the Old Testament? Me neither. Now, we did a series on Exodus a few years ago, about a year and a half ago. And, hi. You can't sneak in on this church. I'm sorry. You can try, but it doesn't work. when we ended Exodus, I left the Old Testament. I've been preaching Jesus. Nothing wrong with preaching Jesus. Nothing wrong with preaching God out of the New Testament. Nothing wrong with telling the stories that we love so much. But I needed to go into the Old Testament. And we're coming out of the book of Joshua. And I can't tell you exactly which chapter we're coming out. We're going to make it to chapter 7. 7 is where I'm going to tell the story. But before I get there, I need to make sure we all are on the same page in the story leading up to chapter 7. Because I don't like preaching, and I got called on the curb to this once, that I preach and I say, you all know the stories. And somebody says, I don't know the stories. So there are people out there who don't know all the stories. So I'm going to fill in the gap till I get to the story that I want to tell. And I'm going to tell you the story. Not reading it. I'm not going to read it one chapter at a time. I'm going to try to tell the Hair Kelly abridged version of the story. All right. So let's take you up to Moses. All right. Moses led the people out of Egypt. All right. He doesn't get to go to the promised land because he made a boo-boo. He hit a rock God told him to speak to. And God says, because of that, you're not going to go into the promised land. Because you didn't listen to me, you're not going to the promised land. By this time, he's like 180 years old, so I'm not sure if he could have made it into the promised land. Well, probably. They lived longer back in those days. So he gave his commission, or he transferred his power over to this young boy. By this time, he's like in his 80s. So he was young, 42 compared to Moses. And who is Joshua, the son of Nun. I love that name because he had no mom and daddy. He was the son of Nun. No, and it's the son of Nun, N-U-N.
I thought they were celibate.
That's what you get for thinking. So Joshua was, and the importance of Joshua is when Moses sent spies out into the land to check out the promised land. He sent 12 spies. 10 of them came back and they said, no, we're not going there. We can't go there. Those people are 10 feet tall. Yeah, it's a land flowing with milk and honey, but these guys are 10 feet tall, armed to the teeth. They're mean. And Joshua and a guy named Caleb said, God said we could take them, we can take them. The Hair Kelly abridged version of the Bible. God said we could do this. Let's do it. What's stopping us? This is our land. And because the 10 voices outweighed the 2 voices, the children of Israel ended up wandering for 40 more years before they had a chance to go back. And finally, we get to the promised land. They get a chance to go in. Moses is dead. And Joshua is given authority. And this is what God says to Joshua in chapter 1. I'll read it. Starting with verse 2, it says, my servant Moses is dead. Now proceed to cross the Jordan, you and all this people, to the land I am giving to them, to the Israelites. Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given to you as I promised to Moses. From the wilderness and the Lebanon, as far as the great river Euphrates, all of the lands of the Hittites to the great sea in the west shall be your territory. No one shall be able to stand against you all the days of your life. Every place that your foot touches, every place you walk on is yours, Joshua. Everybody, I mean, you got thousands of people walking. That's mine. That's mine. Look. That's mine. I stepped on it. It's mine. It belongs to me. But the problem is there's people living there, right? Those giants that are still in the land, they didn't move. They saw and they knew that the Israelites were coming. And they knew and they heard the rumors that God said that this land is their land. That this land belongs to them. These Israelites think that this land is theirs. So the people in these towns start getting prepared, battening down the hatches, armoring themselves up. They've heard the stories of what happened in Egypt. They knew what happened with the 10 plagues in Egypt. They knew that Pharaoh's army was wiped out by the Red Sea. They've heard the stories. They know that this is happening. They know what's going on. They know something's happening. They know that these guys don't play. These Israelites aren't playing around. They really think this land is theirs. What are we going to do about it? So they come to the first city. The first city is huge. A huge city with walls all around it. The name of it's Jericho. And God says, okay, I want you to take the city of Jericho. I want you to ransack it and destroy it. But this is how you're going to do it. You're not going to do it the way that you think you're going to do it. You're not going to just go in there with battering rams, siege towers, or whatever. You're going to camp out there. You guys ever see you know what I'm talking about by siege towers, right? These big, huge wooden towers that they build up. If you ever see The Lord of the Rings or something like that, that kind of thing where they camp out around the city and they have guns, they have cannons, catapults, whatever they used in those days to hurl big rocks against it. And they had these siege towers that they put up there and they could climb up there. No, God says this is what you're going to do. You're going to camp out. And every day you're going to get the people together and you're going to march around the city.